All right, settle in, get all cozy and comfortable. It's time for a story. And this one, well, it's about a gentle giant of science, a man who learned to hear the world's quietest whispers.
So, before you drift off to sleep, let's use our imaginations. Are you ready? Just for a little bit. Okay, imagine a world with no loud noises. A world that's only filled with the gentlest sounds, like the song of a bird, or the rustle of leaves in a soft breeze. And in this quiet world, there's a little boy walking. He's not running, just walking slowly and looking very, very closely at everything around him.
That little boy's name was Charles Darwin. And this is his story. And it's a story that shows us the amazing power of just being quiet and being curious. So, let's start at the beginning, with a boy who didn't need to shout to be heard. He figured out that the world shares its biggest secrets with the people who just listen. A long, long time ago, way back in 1809, a baby boy named Charles was born in England. And even when he was really small, you could just tell Charles was a little bit different.
You see, while the other kids were playing loud, rowdy games, Charles, he found his happiness in quiet places. He could spend a whole afternoon just watching birds build their nests. He had little collections of tiny beetles and strange-looking rocks and soft feathers. While everyone else was running and shouting, Charles was just wondering.
But being so quiet, it made school feel like a really difficult place. His teachers didn't always understand him. One of them even said something so hurtful. They said he would never be successful. But Charles had a secret comfort. Because where school felt cold and confusing, the outside world, nature, was always a warm and welcoming friend.
And as Charles got older, that quiet friendship he had with nature, it would lead him on the biggest adventure of his whole life. It was time for a great voyage. When he was just 22 years old, something pretty incredible happened. An invitation showed up for Charles to travel all the way around the world on a ship called the HMS Beagle. This was his chance to see with his own two eyes all the wonders he'd only dreamed about in books.
Now, this wasn't going to be a short trip. Nope, the journey would last for 5 whole years. Can you imagine that? 5 years, sailing across these huge, mysterious oceans, so far from home.
And life on the ship, it was tough. The constant rocking of the waves made him feel sick a lot of the time, and the big ocean storms could be really, really scary. But his curiosity, it was always bigger than his fear. Every single new land he stepped on, whether it had towering mountains or these lush green jungles, it just filled his heart up with this sparkling wonder.
And on this little group of faraway islands, right in the middle of the ocean, he would discover a quiet secret. A secret that was being told by some very small birds, the finches.
So on these islands, which were called the Galapagos, Charles started noticing all the little birds. They all looked like finches, but they weren't quite the same. Some of them had long, skinny beaks, which were just perfect for reaching insects, but then others had these short, strong beaks, powerful enough to crack open hard seeds on the ground. He would just sit there for hours, watching them, with his notebook open on his lap. And as he watched, this tiny, quiet question started to bloom in his mind. What if these birds hadn't always been this way? What if they had slowly changed, over a really long time, to become perfectly suited to their own island home? And that one little question, born on a lonely island, traveled all the way home with him. And right there, at home, it would slowly grow into a truly world-changing idea.
When Charles finally got back to England, he didn't just run out and start shouting his new idea from the rooftops. No, he was patient. He knew this idea needed time. For more than 20 years, he just sat with his notes and his collections. He read books, he studied, and he thought. He let that small question from the islands grow inside him, slowly and gently, kind of like a tiny seed sprouting into a magnificent tree.
The first part of his big idea he called evolution. And really, it's just this simple, beautiful thought that everything alive on our planet is connected, like one giant family tree, with branches that change and grow over a very, very long time. And the way this change happens, he called that natural selection. Now, it's not some big, scary competition. It's more like a gentle rule of nature, that the creatures who fit best in their home, kind of like a key fitting into a lock, are the ones that get to thrive. Just like those finches, with their beaks perfectly shaped for the food on their own special island. Charles never really looked for fame. He lived a quiet life, surrounded by his family and his garden. But his gentle ideas? They left behind a really loud and lasting legacy of wonder for every single one of us.
Because of that quiet boy who loved watching bugs and birds, we now understand some of the most beautiful things about our world. We know that all life, from the tiniest little ant to the biggest whale, is part of one big, connected family. We know that change isn't something to be scared of, but it's just a natural rhythm of life. And maybe the most important thing of all, we know that a quiet, curious heart has the power to change the world.
So tonight, as you get all cozy and ready for sleep, just hold on to the story of Charles. And remember, you don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to have the most important thing to say.
Because sometimes the most powerful thing in the entire world is to just be still, to listen quietly, and to ask one small curious question. That's how the biggest changes often begin.
So dream of all the worlds you still have to discover, and all the wonderful questions you have yet to ask. Good night. Sleep well.